Yes, guys and girls, welcome back to Stretford Paddock. My name's Jordan, and we've got an exclusive interview for you coming up today with La Liga TV presenter Semra Hunter, where we spoke all things Kieran Trippier, Saul Niguez, Lionel Messi's move to Paris Saint-Germain, the current financial situation that's currently happening in La Liga, and what Raphael Varane's going to bring to the Manchester United defence. So enough of me rambling on, we're going to get straight into it. So Semra, thank you so much for joining us on the channel. Obviously a friend of Stretford Paddock's, as we know. First of all, I can imagine it's been pretty busy for you this week, hasn't it?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. It's really fun to be here with you guys once again. And second of all, yes, it's just been non-stop. It feels like one really long, continuous day. And at the same time, it kind of feels like a dream, like a very strange dream that I just haven't quite woken up from yet. It's been very surreal, as you can imagine, especially since I'm based in Barcelona, where this is the epicenter of the big seismic news that's come out of FC Barcelona. So yeah, still reeling from it, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the Barcelona situation a little bit later on. But first, at the time of recording, Raphael Varane, we're still waiting for the official confirmation, even though everything's pretty much done now. First of all, what do you think he's going to bring to Manchester United, as obviously you've been keeping close tabs on him for such a long time now?
I personally think he is a wonderful signing for Manchester United. Very much their gain, very much Real Madrid's loss. I say that because I think he's someone who's gone so under the radar for such a long time. People who maybe haven't watched Spanish football, or maybe the French national team for that matter, I think they feel like he's underwhelming just because he's not a big name. He's not somebody who's always in the press or taking headlines. But you know what? He is someone who so quietly goes about his business. He's so consistent. And I'll be really honest with you, he's one of the most elegant, graceful defenders I've ever seen play football. And one of the reasons for that is that he anticipates things so incredibly well. He doesn't have to bring somebody to ground. He doesn't have to make an aggressive tackle. He had Sergio Ramos for that, which we'll come back to. But the thing is, he just reads the game so well. On top of that, he's incredibly fast. He's got a lot of speed, which is something that will help to balance out Harry Maguire, who perhaps isn't the quickest and can track back as fast, maybe as the likes of Varane. And I think in some ways there are parallels between that new partnership between those two at Manchester United and what we've seen from Sergio Ramos and Varane. So going back to the Frenchman, just to give you an example, he's picked up in 10 years with Real Madrid. Guess how many yellow cards?
8. Should we go? 8. I'll go 8.
Not bad, not bad. 27. Guess
well,
how many
not bad.
cards?
Thanks for thanks.
Guess how many red cards?
4.
A whopping 1. That is seriously impressive, at least in my book anyway. Compare that to Sergio Ramos. Do you want to take a stab at how many yellow cards he picked up?
What, in how long? In how long?
In how long? God, how long was he there for? I'm trying to remember now. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But probably, God, what, 14 years? 15
I'm going to
years,
give an
16,
educated.
like
I'm going to give an educated guess of about
a
million yellow cards.
226.
Well, there you go.
And red cards?
It'll be something about 80, something like that.
Actually,
surely.
No, that's a pretty high guess. 26. It does feel like 80.
Well, all this interview has proven is that I can't do maths. That's all it's done.
But still, it's a massive comparison. And I think part of what made Sergio Ramos so brilliant was having Raphael Varane at his side. It was good cop, bad cop. You had the more abrasive, boisterous, extroverted, outgoing, aggressive Sergio Ramos, who would really go out and attack players. And then you had Raphael Varane, who oftentimes had to cover his back, had to clean up his mistakes. And he did so in such a way that was, again, so elegant and classy. You didn't even necessarily pick up that that's what he was doing. So a lot of the times he made Sergio Ramos look better in moments where it could have ended in a very calamitous way. And I think they really helped balance each other out in that regard. And I think we'll see something similar with Harry Maguire. He, again, is the captain. He's a leader. He's really come to prominence as one of the deputies in that backline for Manchester United in the last 2 seasons in particular. He's even finding that space with the English national team. And so again, Raphael Varane, he's not going to be very outlandish. He's not going to make a lot of noise. He's not going to make a lot of buzz. He'll be quiet, but he'll be very effective and very efficient. It's true that he didn't have a great season last season, but that was a lot of it down to injuries and not having a proper pre-season because of COVID and the way that the two seasons ended up blending together and games were coming so thick and fast. Then again, nobody really had a proper pre-season. So I think things will be a little bit different as long as he can stay fit for this upcoming season. I think there's a great opportunity there for those two to be one of the best central pairings in Europe. There's obviously a lot of competition across various clubs, but I think they have all the markings to do a really great job together. And I think where he can also help is defending set pieces, something I know Manchester United do need to work on. And he's got a bit of goal in him too. He can score every now and again. He's also good from set pieces at the other end of the pitch whenever he needs calling upon. There were moments last season where Real Madrid were really short on attacking options, and he would get forward and save the day. So he can pull that out of his locker too. I'm a big fan of his. He's someone who has won everything under the sun. He's a World Cup winner. He won the Champions League 4 times with Real Madrid. He won a Copa del Rey, I think a few leagues as well too, on top of that. So in total, we're talking about 18 different trophies that he's won across basically every competition that you can win something in. So he's a great signing. He really is. It's just a shame that he decided to leave or Real Madrid decided to let him go. But it's very much your gain and someone I think you can get excited about, quite honestly.
I was about to say it's not a shame on our part. I think we're pretty all buzzing as a fan base knowing that he's joining the club. But as you mentioned before, he's a serial winner. He's won everything he can win as a player. We talk about so much, and as you mentioned, about how much he's going to sort of improve Harry Maguire, improve that back four. But little has been mentioned about what potential weaknesses he could actually have as an individual player. As you say, he had a poor season. His injury record was pretty bad as well. Is that something to be cause for concern for Manchester United fans? Because nothing's really been spoke about what weaknesses he potentially has.
Well, because to be completely honest with you, for so long, I mean, 9 of the 10 seasons, there were hardly any weaknesses to choose from. I mean, he put in almost perfect performances on a fairly regular basis. So I think it'll be interesting to see if some weaknesses perhaps do develop, because there was such an understanding, such a tacit understanding, telepathic understanding with him and Sergio Ramos, that maybe now having that new partner, we could see some moments where they don't quite have the communication down yet, maybe don't quite understand what's expected of one another. That could lead to moments of individual mistakes. But again, I think he's a fairly flawless player for the most part. Obviously, he can get a little bit caught up in moments at times, or maybe he will bring somebody down, or maybe he'll make a technical foul, or he'll have moments where maybe he switches off, or he's not feeling 100%, so he can't approach a tackle in the way that he would like to, for example. So I think it'll be interesting to see, actually. And I think overall, he should be able to adapt fairly well to the Premier League and to the style of play and to English football. But more than individual mistakes, I think it'll be more maybe a mistake that comes out from the two of them just finding their feet together, if that makes sense. And obviously, injuries are going to be really important. I don't know, obviously, what his physical shape is right now, what his fitness level is right now. But I think as long as he can stay fit, then it shouldn't really be too much of a concern.
Do you think him and Harry Maguire together could be the best centre-back partnership in the Premier League?
Oh, the best.
The best.
I don't know about the best, but certainly one of the best. And I think one of the ways in which Varane can perhaps help Manchester United is the way that maybe they can build out of the back to a degree. I know that Harry Maguire, he likes to get forward a little bit more. He does like to help link up with the midfield. He likes to bring the ball out of the back. And I think he'll feel a little bit more freedom, perhaps, knowing that he has Varane behind him to cover his back, to kind of sweep up any loose balls, or to be there and protect if they end up losing the ball and he needs to get back for a counter attack quickly. So perhaps that will help, maybe in the sense of seeing Manchester United play a little bit of a higher line, maybe progressively move a little bit further up the pitch. That would be interesting to see if that's what happens there. I think it will certainly be interesting to see who they have in front of them to protect them as well too, because they can't just do this all on their own. They will need some kind of protection from the midfield, and also to see what happens at the back in goal. But I certainly think they have the ability and the potential to be a really, really strong partnership. And again, like I say, because I think Harry Maguire does embody some of the same characteristics as Sergio Ramos, and that worked so well for them for so many years, that when they do finally click, then I think it certainly could be one of the best, if not the best. Why not? But we'll see, I think, over the next few months how things develop in the Premier League, and then maybe I can give you a better answer at that point.
That is what we love to hear, though. Potentially could be. We definitely think the best, but
I think there's a lot of positives. I have to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of cause for optimism. Really, I mean that. So
yeah, 100%. And as you mentioned before, he had that long-standing partnership with Sergio Ramos for almost a decade. You know, they came together in every sort of massive game that Real Madrid played, but obviously a massive shock for the club losing both first-choice centre-halves on top of Lionel Messi joining Paris Saint-Germain. Is this now a worrying time for La Liga, and does this mean other clubs around Europe, the likes of Manchester United or some of the Italian clubs like Inter Milan, etc., they have a chance now at sort of breaking that Spanish dominance in Europe that we've seen over the past decade as Sergio Ramos and Varane have been partners at Real Madrid?
I know a lot of people would like to say yes. I know a lot of people would like to say this is the downfall of La Liga, the downfall of Spanish football, but it's, in my opinion, a very dramatic reaction. And again, I think those are comments that come from people who don't necessarily watch Spanish football. So I would urge them to give the league a try if they haven't watched it before, because there is so much more beyond just Real Madrid, Barcelona, the big names. There's no denying that their departure from the league does hurt the league to some degree. I don't think any of us can say that that isn't true. But there is a lot of depth there. There's a lot of really exciting young prospects, a lot of really exciting young talents that are coming through too, that I think will take some time. Of course, like anything in football or in life, it's cyclical. So yes, Spain had this huge period of dominance on the continental scene, on the world scene, at club level, at the national team level for the better part of 10 to 12 years, something like that. And in the last few years, it has dropped. I don't think we can deny that either. But having said that, you still have a Villarreal that, sorry to say it, beat Manchester United in the Europa League final.
Interview's over. Done.
Sorry about that. And you still have a Spanish team, the under-23 team at the Olympics, that made it into the finals just a couple of weeks ago, and not even, I think it was this past weekend, they went toe-to-toe with Brazil and they almost won the Olympics. So there's a lot still there that makes Spanish football very interesting and very much worth watching. It's a league that is full of lots of technical talent, and if you like tactics as well, then this is a great league, because there's so many different types of managers with so many different types of philosophies and playing styles, and it's really interesting to see the clash of these philosophies and playing styles across the different teams in the division. So yes, we don't have like a, let's say, big marquee franchise player per se anymore, but there is the ability for new players to step in and fill that void. I don't know what else to say really, other than I think it's still very much a league worth watching. There's still fabulous players, whether they're veterans or not. We still have Luis Suarez. We have, well, Kun Agüero, don't know what's going to happen there, for example. But we have Memphis Depay now too. I know he didn't exactly have the best time at Manchester United for a lot of different reasons, but he's with a manager now that he really respects, and it's mutual and they get along really well. And I think Koeman could get the best out of Memphis. So we'll see what happens there. But the one thing I think perhaps hurting the Spanish Football League is finances, is money, which is something I'm sure we're going to talk about. In that sense, I don't think they can compete, at least for now, with the likes of the Premier League or a PSG. So we'll see the evolution of the economics in the next couple of years and see how these clubs deal with COVID and the losses and all that sort of stuff.
As you said, the mention of the debt, there's no denying that Real Madrid and Barcelona are currently in a pretty dire situation when it comes to their financial worries. And I think that played a part in why Manchester United got the transfer of Raphael Varane done for so cheap. £34 million plus £7 million in add-ons is what it's rumoured to be. But Manchester United have obviously been in debt under the Glazer ownership, if I can speak properly, for 16, 17 years now. And seeing the fallout of the marquee players from La Liga, from Real, from Barca, the Lionel Messis, the Ramoses, the Varanes, all leaving now, do you think that same thing could happen potentially to a Manchester United, to a Liverpool, if those financial sort of troubles did not get sorted out and then the Premier League starts to lose their marquee players? Could you see something similar happening in the future?
I think that what's happening with Real Madrid and Barcelona does need to serve as a warning of what could happen in football on a much bigger scale in the future. Because without checks and balances, this is the kind of thing that happens. Barcelona is in such a deep hole, they can't even see the bottom. They're basically in financial ruin. And that's because they overspent with money they didn't even have. So they're basically in a place of financial bankruptcy. And it's going to be very difficult to see how they're going to get out of this. And there's no question that it's going to affect them going forward, at least in the next few years, as they try to sort out these financial problems. Madrid, I think, have done a slightly better job, but they're also in a bit of financial trouble too, we can say, which is, as you rightly said, one of the reasons why they decided to sell Varane rather than try to keep him, because they do need to make money. And that's why pretty much everybody in the squad was up for sale, let's say, in the sense that if somebody had made an offer, Real Madrid most likely would have sold them or loaned them out. And that's, again, kind of what happened with Sergio Ramos. It wasn't necessarily that they tried to force him out. It was, I mean, they made him an offer. He just decided not to take it, or he waited too long to accept the offer. So according to the club and to Ramos, the offer had expired. But the truth is, it does help them in terms of their wage bill, because he was making so much money. It now leaves a little bit of room for them to kind of breathe as they try to fix the situation, because they have also incurred a lot of losses because of COVID, same with everybody else. So yeah, now they're in a position where they're trying to sell, Barcelona trying to sell. And that's probably the worst thing possible, knowing that the whole world knows what your situation is. So if they want to sell someone, they're most likely not going to get what they want, because clubs can turn around and say, we also don't have a lot of money, we're strapped for cash or whatever. So they can make a very low offer. And it's not really going to help Barcelona to make serious amounts of, income, let's say, from trying to sell or loan out these players. It's a big, big problem. And I'm not really sure that they even know how to get themselves out of it. And so, yes, I think if other clubs are not careful, it could definitely happen to them too. And then we'll start seeing players either be forced out, or their contracts not renewed, or something similar to what happened with Ramos and Lionel Messi. I think the whole financial structure, let's say, of club football across Europe really is in danger of a serious crisis, or in danger of a serious collapse at some point. So as long as the Premier League keeps injecting money, or the clubs keep finding ways to inject money to keep themselves afloat, to keep themselves above board, and they're not breaking any rules in the process, then I suppose they're going to be okay. But if at some point they mismanage in the way that Barcelona did, then they're going to be in a serious world of hurt. So that would be my suggestion. Look and see what happened with these two, more specifically Barcelona, and do what you can to avoid managing your club like that and running it into the ground. I mean, they spent 110% of their income on salaries alone. It's not sustainable. And that was with Messi. Without Messi, it was still 95%. The recommended figure is about 60 to 65%, I think it is. So you do the math. You don't even need to be great at math to know that there's something very wrong with that picture. So don't spend more money than you have.
I mean, as we know, I'm terrible at maths from what we were talking about yellow and red cards before, but I'm going to mention about Barcelona, as you said then, quickly. it is a mess that they find themselves in. They couldn't afford to keep Lionel Messi, the greatest football player, arguably, of all time. His contract was a mess. They've obviously lost their captain. They've lost all the financial income that comes with having Lionel Messi on your team, the shirt sales, the overseas attraction, etc., etc. Could Barcelona find themselves bankrupt, dare I say, in the future, without the ability to then compete in La Liga and the Champions League in the future?
Well, I certainly hope not, because I don't think it would be great for anybody, really. I don't think it'd be great for the city of Barcelona. I don't think it would be ideal for La Liga, or for Spanish football, for that matter. This is a massively historic club, who have won loads over the years, who have had a very interesting, very rich history. I don't suspect they will be bankrupt to the point where they will cease to exist. I think there's too many interests behind the scenes that would allow for something like that to happen. But they are more than €1 billion in debt. And Joan Laporta, the president himself, said the other day publicly that they have losses just from last season of almost €500 million, so €500 million. So where they're going to find this money from to help them get out of this situation, no one really knows as of yet. I'm sure he's been working for months now to try and sort something out. The obvious one was trying to reduce the wage bill, to try and get players to lower their salaries, or again, to offload players. But they've been relatively stuck with that. They haven't been able to maneuver too much with those options. So they will need to look elsewhere. La Liga had thrown them a lifeline. I'm sure you've heard of this deal that is still being negotiated. It hasn't been confirmed yet, with CVC, which is a private equity firm that is reportedly going to inject €2.7 billion into Spanish football. So they would have gotten some sum of money from that, somewhere about €250 million, they were saying. So that would have helped to soften the blow a little bit. But both Real Madrid and Barcelona have decided to fight against this. They don't want to accept this deal. So we'll see what happens there. It's a very tricky situation right now. It certainly is a very sad state of affairs, whether you're a Barcelona fan or not. I think just to see any club in this kind of financial ruin, it's just a sad thing to see that it's come to this point. And you do feel for Barcelona fans. And if this were any other club, I would feel the same way. Just to see any football fan feel so sort of in so much despair, so desolate, to see the way that their club is crumbling in front of them. I mean, it is heartbreaking to see that. And so, again, do I think they're completely going to disappear from the map? No. But how they're going to find themselves financially more stable in the near future, I really don't have an answer for that, unfortunately.
And you see that financial worry forced Barcelona's hand to sell Lionel Messi. His move to Paris Saint-Germain confirmed yesterday. But do United now have a chance competing in the Champions League against the likes of Barcelona's, Real Madrid's, Paris Saint-Germain's, who right now they've probably had one of, if not the best transfer window ever in history recorded in terms of free signings, in terms of the calibre of players that they've brought in. How do you assess Manchester United's chances in the Champions League? Bringing Raphael Varane in, if I get my words out, Jadon Sancho as well. How do you think United will compete this season?
I think they have a good opportunity to compete well. From the outside looking in, I would say that Manchester United do look like it's a project, that's still very much in progress, that is still being rebuilt a little bit piece by piece. I think it will take some time for this transition to be completed, but I do think that by making a signing like Raphael Varane, it really does show that they're taking a step in the right direction. I think they will be able to compete fairly well this season. City are going to be another ones to look out for. I mean, by bringing in Jack Grealish, that is an unbelievable signing, and it's already a stacked squad. And same with PSG. You mentioned it. Donnarumma, probably one of the best goalkeepers around, for a free transfer. Sergio Ramos, we already know his legendary status, for a free transfer. You've got Real Madrid's captain and Barcelona's captain, and two of the most emblematic figures of both of these clubs respectively on the same team at the same time, both for a free transfer. It boggles the mind. It feels like a glitch in the matrix. You just look at this and you think there's something really wrong with this picture. I can't quite comprehend it, even though you know it's real, and you just think, how on earth did we get here? Well, we got here because there are clubs that have deeper pockets than others. And so will they start to pull away from everybody else? There's a very real potential that they could. And so I think Manchester United will have a very good season. I think they have the ability to have a very good season, but will they be able to compete with a City and a PSG in the Champions League? To be honest with you, I'm not really sure anybody can right now. So, but I would still feel positive about your chances of doing well. And I think you could even get into a top 4 finish in the Premier League this season. Why not?
Oh, I think we're going for the title. Don't be putting us down like that. No, we're not having that. But obviously, as you mentioned,
you think they can win the title this season?
Of course we can. Of course we can win the title.
I like your optimism.
100%. It's not optimism. It's facts, right? But we're just gonna mention quickly as well. Of course, to be challenging the likes of Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City, squad depth needs to be there, and there's always been rumours this transfer window, certainly, about Manchester United being linked with a couple of players from Atletico Madrid. More specifically, Kieran Trippier. There's rumours that his camp are already confident that a deal is going to happen towards the end of the transfer window, with United set to make a third significant signing, as we mentioned before. What's the latest you can give us on a potential move for Kieran Trippier, as well as Saul Niguez in midfield?
Right now, it's pretty much as you said. It's just hearsay. It's just rumors. Nothing has really picked up steam yet, at least over here, as to whether this is really going to happen or not. I think, let's talk about Kieran Trippier first. I know he gets a lot of stick for some reason from fans in England or in the Premier League specifically. They think that he just isn't that good of a player, or I'm not really sure what it is, but they don't seem to rate him very favorably, very, very highly. Maybe it was the case that with Spurs, he wasn't one of the standouts, to be honest with you. I don't know. But with Atletico Madrid last season, without a doubt, he was one of the most influential and important players in that squad. And he was instrumental in helping them win the league. And part of that had to do with how he was deployed by Simeone. He was effectively a wing back who was going up and down, up and down, up and down constantly, and whipping in crosses and delivering really nice balls to somebody in the area, whether it was Luis Suarez or whoever else happened to arrive. And oftentimes those chances that he created, they were converted into goals. And his absence was massively felt in the middle of the season whenever he had that 10-match ban for, I think it was like, they were something to do with gambling or something like that, that apparently he was giving information that he shouldn't have given about his move to Atletico Madrid or whatever. But in any case, he was out for 10 matches and their level dropped. And it's no coincidence that they started having a wobbly moment when he wasn't there, because he was such a key piece to the whole structure and to the whole way that they played. So I would be very surprised if Simeone allowed him to leave. I don't think financially they're in bad shape. I actually think they're in pretty good shape right now. I think they've managed things really well. So I don't think they necessarily need the money. And I think Simeone would really like to keep him, if at all possible. When it comes to Saul, he didn't have a great season last campaign. He's someone who's been at the club for a long time. He was a stalwart. He was very much Simeone's man in a way in the midfield, or at least one of them. He was one of his preferred choices for a very long time in the starting 11, but he mentally wasn't quite in the right place. I think he was struggling a little bit with some mental health issues, which he talked about openly and publicly. And so he wasn't really on his game last season. And I think he was having a really hard time figuring out exactly where he fit in and how he should play and what his role was. So I don't know if that necessarily means that Simeone would like to move him on, or if he would like to keep him and try and bring him back into the fold, try and find a way to make it work for him again. So again, that one, I'm not entirely sure about as to what is going to happen there. So there is certainly the possibility that both of them do end up at Manchester United. I think depending on how Solskjaer, I can never pronounce his name. Jesus, you're going to have to help me. It's such a hard name. Ole Gunnar, let's just go with that. Depending on how he wants to set the team up, how he wants them to play, I don't know if he needs more of a Kieran Trippier type profile or if he needs a Saul. The good thing about Trippier is that he's really versatile. Same with Saul, they're really versatile players. They can play in pretty much any position when called upon. There were times when Simeone moved him over to the left if it was necessary, or over to the right, depending on whatever he needed at that point in time. Saul, he can play in the midfield. He could play at left back. He's filled in at left back many a time for Atletico Madrid. So these are sort of squad players in a way that you can use them in different ways. So is that what they really need? I don't know specifically what Manchester United are looking for, what areas on the pitch they're looking to reinforce, but they could be good options, I would say. They're both very good footballers, and I think they could give a lot to Manchester United, but it's just a question of whether they would be the right fit or not for what's being looked for.
Well, it will remain to be seen what Manchester United do in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window. So all that's left to say is, Semra, thank you so much for coming back on the channel. As always, we know you're a massive friend of ours. So thank you so much for coming back on.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It's been fun as always.
So big thanks to Semra from La Liga TV for joining us on the channel. Make sure to leave your comments in the comment section below about everything we spoke about today. Don't forget to like the video as well. And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you scroll down to the subscribe button and give it a big fat click, because we're less than 6,000 subscribers away from 600,000. So if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you get on it. I've been Jonathan Simpson for Stretford Paddock. That's been a one-on-one interview with Semra Hunter. We'll see you on the next video.